Absolute pleasure to meet with you, Vimla. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Venkat. Always a pleasure as well.
Pleasure. In fact, this is all about how can leaders amplify the impact of coaching, Vimla. And we've had the pleasure of working together. You've had the pleasure of coaching people on your team. I wanted to spend a few minutes gaining your perspectives, Vimla.
Sure.
First off is, in every coaching session, there are always some insights or aha moments. And what I'm curious about is how many of these aha moments have survived a year or more, Vimla, from your perspective?
That's a very good question, Venkat. I've been privileged to have had coaches for the last 10 years, depending on, which stage of my career I was in, there were different coaches. I would say that some that were truly aha, right? You realize, wow, that have stayed with me, forever. And they have impacted both my professional as well as personal life. Some, they kind of get forgotten, not even a year, right? By the following week, you forget because you get so back into the grinds. But certainly there are some very, very key points that have stayed with me, as I said, and I'm really grateful to my coaches for having made me go through that realization as well.
Beautiful. Give me a couple of examples of learnings that have stayed the course, Vimla.
Yeah, I think the first one many, many years ago was with a coach, and I'd just been promoted to becoming an integrating manager. So I have managers reporting to me for the first time. And clearly, when you are moving from managing individual contributors to managers, that's a steep one, right? Because now you have to influence your managers to deliver the outcome that you want. And I think what she was really able to instill in me is about how we start building the trust with the next level managers. And that in order to do that effectively, it's critical that you don't roll up your sleeve and start doing the work because it's faster, right? You allow your next level managers to make the mistakes. Standing from afar, that's not a right decision because you've been there, but you allow them to make that mistake within the realms of what is possible. And then you learn in the process and they learn in the process. So as I've progressed in my career, now I have actually managers reporting to me. I have continued to do that, which has been one of the most useful tips.
Very nice. Very nice. The beauty about coaching, Vimla, is that while you become a greater individual and leader, it's also an opportunity to develop other leaders within your team. What's been your experience of moving from awareness and appreciation of coaching to actual application of coaching, Vimla?
No, several, I would say. I think the first was really my acknowledgement that, coaching is so critical in you being successful in an organization and you developing, right? So one of my mantras with my team is also to identify especially high potential leaders and ensure that they get coaching. So throughout my last 6 years, especially, that's been something I've been very intentional with, So apart from my coaching, I think to have seen the success of coaching for myself, I've said, oh, this is great. I need my team also to have coaches. And of course, coaching is about chemistry. So you find the right coach, and they work on their development. I think the other thing about coaching has been clarity around, for example, I've been coached extensively on strategy building by you. So I take that, key points in all the different nuances that are involved in strategy building. And then when I'm building, for example, the strategic plan for my teams, I use that as the baseline, as the platform to build the strategy. And I use that opportunity to coach my team along the lines that you have taught as well.
Beautiful. Pleasure. Now, what normally happens is there is this assumption, Vimla, that coaching is very confidential. You have a nice, touchy, woolly, feely conversation and everything is gone, right? Now, organizations are primarily saying, hey, we are investing in coaching. We want to see some measurable, monetizable results. What's
Yeah.
been your experience of translating coaching into business results, Vimla?
Touchy woolly feeling is not coaching, right? That's more a therapy. I mean, some of that is necessary more so that you have that chemistry with your coach because you are sharing a lot of your challenges and you want to establish that trust. But I think, as an organization and as a leader of a very large team, the expectation that the coaching should result in business outcomes is absolutely right. So, for example, I used strategy earlier, right? The other thing is about building teams, change, transformation. These are areas that generally are necessary in an organization, and these are areas where coaching always helps. So to say that, okay, I'm entering this coaching agreement with 3 objectives, 2 of it with clear business outcomes, maybe 1 around personal development, is absolutely right. And I think that's also fair of an organization to expect that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well put, Vimla. Now I'm curious. Leaders get coached, they empower their next level to get coached. But how does a culture of coaching develop, Vimla?
I think that's a very good question, Venkat, because I see that very clearly even when I look around, right? So the culture of coaching is something that has to be part of the organization, the company that you work for. But at the same time, the culture of coaching is something that is propagated more or less from an individual perspective. So I benefited from coaching. I believe in coaching. I get a lot of my teams coached as well. I don't necessarily see that with, everyone that I'm who are around me. So I think coaching is a necessity for development because it's like looking at your rear view mirror. And a coach, because you have that trust, is able to bring that up because he is vested only in your development, right? There's nothing else. So I think the culture of coaching is something that we should propagate. It does need to come from the tone from the top. But individually, some tend to do that more, and some, because they believe in that more, they have natural empathy towards that, and some do less of it. But overall, an organization should have that as part of the ethos of running that organization and team.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, you have been a coach, you have been a coachee as well, Vimla.
Yeah.
How can coachees become better coachees, Vimla?
Coaches become better coaches. Oh, wow. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Well, I say first and foremost, be invested. Don't come into a coaching session because your manager has said you need a coach, right? Then you are never going to get the benefit of that. So you have to understand that, being a coachee, you have to make time for it. You need to be invested. And, you have to follow through on the commitments that you make, whether it's a homework given or, a journal that you have to write, it doesn't matter. But, coaching it's not a therapy session. You just don't come in, talk and walk away. There are things that you need to do. So you need to be really invested in your coaching and, trust that whatever is expected of you will result in some good outcomes, and you make sure that you do that with your heart and with the time and commitment, right? And then I think the final one that I would say from my own experience is when you have finished a coaching session, it's also important to reflect. Right? So there are many aha moments, and it's not possible to remember all of them and to make sure that you take it to the next stage of your career or even in your current career. But it's very important to reflect and say, in this session, in these 10 sessions, 3 things I've taken away, and that's going to stay with me. And then be intentional in making sure that you use that, all the time.
This has been extremely valuable, Vimla. One last question.
Sure.
What advice would you give other leaders? They are going to watch this video and say, hey, how can I be inspired to adopt as well as apply coaching? What advice would you give other leaders watching this video, Vimala?
I would say that, I think the advice that I would give is believe in it, because I personally benefited from it. I'm sure that many leaders you speak to would say that they have benefited from it. So don't, going back to what I said, don't go into coaching because somebody is telling you it's good for you. Experience it, believe in it, and then be intentional in making sure that you take some of your learnings and coach the next level and next level, all the way right down to the ground and the frontline people, because you as a leader are going to determine the culture of the organization. And whatever you learn as a coachee, it's going to transform your organization, or your organization is going to embrace and imbibe that, right? So it's important that you take that seriously, you bring that forward to your team, and the only way you can do that is if you believe in it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vimala. This is extremely valuable. I'm so grateful for the time. I applaud our relationship and looking forward to achieving more as well. My very best wishes to you, Vimala.
Thank you very much, Venkat.
Pleasure.